Anger is a natural emotional response to perceived injustice, disrespect, or frustration. However, as much as anger is a human experience, it often leads to unproductive behavior. When anger strikes, it's easy to get lost in the intensity of the emotions, focusing on how wrong the situation is or how deeply hurt we feel. But getting caught up in these feelings, while understandable, doesn't solve the problem at hand, it only feeds the negative emotions. This is why the first step in managing anger is to shift your focus away from the emotion and toward finding a solution. Rather than allowing yourself to spiral further into frustration, ask yourself, what can I do about this? By focusing on solutions, you redirect your energy from negative emotions into something productive and positive. This mental shift is one of the core tenets of Stoic philosophy, which encourages focusing only on what is within our control, while letting go of things beyond our control. For example, imagine you're in a disagreement with a colleague at work, and you feel that they are disrespecting your time. It's natural to feel angry, especially if this isn't the first time it's happened. Your initial emotional reaction might involve focusing on how unfair it is or how inconsiderate your colleague is. However, if you stay trapped in that anger, you might say something in the heat of the moment that makes the situation worse. Instead of letting that emotional energy drive you to an unproductive reaction, pause and think, how can I address this constructively? Maybe you can approach the situation by calmly explaining your feelings and why it's important to respect each other's time. You might also propose a new way of handling things, perhaps by setting clearer expectations or scheduling regular check-ins to avoid misunderstandings. The key here is to focus on taking action rather than wallowing in frustration. By shifting your focus from the problem and your emotional reaction to finding a solution, you not only break the cycle of anger but also empower yourself to improve the situation. This approach doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It's still important to recognize that what triggered your anger may be valid, but instead of fixating on it, you move toward a constructive resolution. When we focus on what we can control, our response and actions, we regain a sense of agency, and that sense of control can diffuse much of the anger. The more you practice this mindset, the more effective you will be at managing your emotions and responding with self-discipline, ultimately turning potential sources of conflict into opportunities for growth and improvement. Anger is not always predictable. Sometimes, it builds up slowly, and other times, it can seem to flare up out of nowhere. There are situations, actions, or people that can set off an angry reaction, and understanding these triggers can be an essential part of managing your emotions. Identifying your specific triggers is a powerful step in taking control of your emotional responses. Triggers are the external or internal factors that prompt an emotional reaction. It might be someone cutting you off in traffic, being interrupted in a conversation, feeling disrespected, or facing a situation where you feel powerless. Often, we don't realize what sets us off until we're already in the midst of an emotional reaction. However, by being aware of what causes our anger, we can anticipate and prepare for those moments. This awareness gives us the power to pause and choose a more measured response instead of reacting automatically and regretfully. In Stoic philosophy, self-awareness and controlling one's nature are central to living a virtuous life. The Stoics believed that knowing oneself, recognizing our emotional triggers, was key to cultivating emotional resilience. Marcus Aurelius, a prominent Stoic philosopher, often reflected on his emotions and how to manage them. This self-awareness enabled him to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Once you identify your triggers, the next step is to develop strategies to manage them. Not all triggers are avoidable, but having a plan to handle them when they arise can make all the difference. For example, if you find that being interrupted during conversations triggers your anger, you can practice pausing before responding. Instead of immediately reacting, take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to collect your thoughts. You might even set boundaries with others, letting them know that interruptions are frustrating to you, and establish a rule to avoid them in important discussions. Another strategy is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness allows you to stay present in the moment and recognize when the tension is building before it escalates. It involves tuning into your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations, enabling you to recognize the signs of anger before it fully takes over. When you feel yourself becoming frustrated, take a mental step back and observe what is happening internally. By acknowledging the trigger in real time, you can decide how to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Sometimes, being aware of your triggers can also help you communicate more effectively with others. If you know that a certain tone of voice or behavior tends to anger you, it might be helpful to explain this to the person involved. For instance, calmly telling someone, "I find it difficult to concentrate when there is loud music playing," allows them to be mindful of your needs, and it opens the door to more productive communication. Understanding and managing your triggers is key to developing emotional resilience. When you know your emotional hot spots, you're better equipped to respond in a controlled manner, even in challenging situations. Over time, you'll notice that your emotional reactions become less automatic, and you'll have more control over how you navigate difficult moments. By taking the time to identify and address your triggers, you're not only better managing your anger, but you're also strengthening your ability to respond calmly and rationally, which is the hallmark of emotional self-discipline. When anger takes hold, it can feel like a heavy weight on your body, a surge of energy that clouds your thoughts and impairs your judgment. One of the most effective ways to break free from that grip is through physical movement. Exercise, whether it's going for a brisk walk, stretching, or engaging in a more intense workout, is a powerful tool for releasing pent-up energy and stress. Not only does it benefit your physical health, but it can also provide significant relief from emotional turmoil, particularly anger. The physiological effects of anger, such as increased heart rate, shallow breathing, and muscle tension, are often driven by stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones prepare the body for a fight-or-flight response, but they also contribute to the heightened emotions associated with anger. Exercise is one of the most effective ways to counteract these physical symptoms, reducing the levels of cortisol and adrenaline in your system. When you engage in physical activity, your body releases endorphins, natural mood enhancers that promote a sense of well-being and calm. Think about the times you've experienced frustration or anger and decided to go for a run, take a brisk walk, or even just stretch. More often than not, this physical release provides an immediate sense of relief, calming your mind and helping you regain perspective on the situation. By shifting your focus from the source of your anger to something positive, like physical activity, you create a mental reset. It's not about ignoring the emotions but channeling that energy into something productive. In the long run, regular exercise builds emotional resilience. As you continue to improve your physical fitness, your body becomes better equipped to handle stress and emotional challenges. Physical activity strengthens both the body and the mind, making it easier to manage emotions like anger with greater ease. Instead of feeling overwhelmed or reactive when anger arises, you can rely on your body's newfound strength to help you stay grounded. The Stoics understood the importance of taking care of the body as part of achieving a balanced life. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, often wrote about how physical health was integral to mental clarity and emotional stability. If the body is neglected, the mind becomes more susceptible to turbulence, including anger. In this way, exercise isn't just about staying in shape, it's about maintaining balance and cultivating self-discipline. The next time anger strikes, consider moving your body to release the tension. Whether it's a full workout or a simple stretch, getting moving helps you break the cycle of emotional escalation. By engaging in physical activity, you not only alleviate the immediate physical symptoms of anger but also create a positive, healthy outlet for stress that improves your long-term ability to manage your emotions. When anger rises, it's easy to fall into the trap of reacting immediately. In the heat of the moment, the urge to fix things or express our emotions can feel overwhelming. However, rushing to resolve a situation while angry can often lead to decisions or actions we later regret. Acting impulsively might escalate the conflict, harm relationships, or create additional stress. This is why one of the most effective tools for managing anger is simply taking a step back, giving yourself time to cool down before reacting. The Stoics understood the importance of patience and reflection when faced with emotional turbulence. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, frequently reminded himself to pause and reflect before reacting. In his Meditations, he wrote, "When you are about to get angry, remind yourself that you are about to act in a way that will harm you and others." The Stoics believed that taking time to consider our actions and responses was key to living a virtuous life. Rather than reacting out of anger, they encouraged pausing, reflecting, and responding thoughtfully. When you're angry, your body is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which prepare you for immediate action. While these chemicals are vital for handling actual threats, they can cloud your judgment and impair your ability to think clearly. By taking time to cool off, you give your body the opportunity to reset. This simple act of stepping away from the situation can be incredibly powerful in regaining control over your emotions. You don't need to step away for hours or even minutes. Sometimes, a few moments of silence or a quick walk outside are enough to reset your emotional state. The goal is to pause long enough to process your emotions, gain clarity, and decide how to respond. This pause also gives you space to reflect on what's truly important and whether the anger is a proportionate response to the situation. More often than not, taking time to cool down allows you to return to the situation with a clearer perspective and more balanced response. Additionally, when you allow yourself to cool down, you also allow yourself the grace to reflect on your emotions. It's easy to become overwhelmed by anger and act impulsively, but by giving yourself time, you can consider whether your anger is justified or if it's being amplified by stress, miscommunication, or other external factors. This practice of pausing and reflecting helps you break the cycle of automatic emotional responses and promotes a more measured, thoughtful reaction. Remember, cooling down doesn't mean avoiding the issue or sweeping it under the rug. It's about giving yourself the opportunity to handle the situation with clarity and self-control. When you return to the issue after taking a break, you'll be better equipped to express yourself calmly, listen effectively, and resolve the conflict in a way that leads to a more positive outcome. Incorporating the practice of taking a step back to cool down can significantly improve your ability to manage anger. The next time you feel the surge of anger rising, give yourself permission to pause. Whether it's taking a few minutes of silence, stepping outside for fresh air, or taking a short walk, this act of cooling down helps prevent impulsive reactions and promotes thoughtful, controlled decision-making. Anger is a natural human emotion that everyone experiences at some point. It can arise from various sources, whether it's frustration over a situation, conflict with another person, or even the feeling of being misunderstood. However, many people view anger as something inherently negative or wrong, something they should avoid or suppress at all costs. This belief can lead to feelings of guilt or shame when anger arises, which in turn can create additional emotional strain. But the truth is, anger in itself is neither a failure nor a weakness. It's a normal, valid emotion that we all experience. One of the most important steps in managing anger effectively is to be kind to yourself when you feel angry. This means recognizing that anger, like all emotions, is a natural response to certain situations, and it doesn't reflect negatively on your character or strength. The idea of self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend or loved one in a similar situation. Instead of harshly criticizing yourself for being angry or labeling yourself as weak, practice acceptance and understanding toward your emotional state. When anger arises, avoid falling into the trap of self-judgment. It's easy to think, "I shouldn't be angry. I'm better than this." But this kind of thinking only compounds the emotional turmoil. Instead of criticizing yourself for feeling the way you do, acknowledge that anger is simply an emotion, and emotions don't define your worth. Just because you're feeling angry doesn't mean you've failed in any way, it means you're human. Self-compassion allows you to feel anger without judgment, providing the space you need to process it healthily. In practice, this means that when you feel angry, take a step back and say to yourself, "It's okay to feel angry. This is a normal emotion, and it's a signal that something matters to me." Rather than trying to immediately push the anger away, accept it. Acknowledge it without guilt. Being kind to yourself in these moments of emotional distress is a critical aspect of emotional well-being. It involves letting go of the notion that experiencing anger makes you less of a person or that it's something you need to suppress. Instead, honor your feelings and allow yourself to be human, flaws and all. This practice of self-kindness also extends to how you respond to your anger. Once you accept the emotion without judgment, you are in a much better position to make thoughtful, measured decisions. Rather than reacting impulsively, self-compassion allows you to pause and choose a response that aligns with your values. If you're angry because someone has hurt you, instead of lashing out in retaliation, you can recognize the anger and then calmly express your feelings in a constructive way. By embracing anger with kindness and understanding, you also build emotional resilience. The more you practice self-compassion, the more capable you become of managing challenging emotions like anger without being overwhelmed by them. This strengthens your emotional well-being over time, making it easier to face difficult situations and regulate your emotions in healthy ways. Resilience doesn't mean never feeling angry, it means feeling anger without being consumed by it and knowing how to respond in a way that reflects your inner strength and self-control. Additionally, being kind to yourself doesn't just benefit your emotional state in the moment, it can improve your decision-making process. When you feel good about how you handle your emotions, you are more likely to make decisions that are in line with your values and long-term goals. In contrast, when you're harsh with yourself and filled with self-judgment, the pressure and stress can cloud your judgment and lead to poor decisions, especially in emotionally charged situations. The Stoics recognized that our emotions are not inherently bad, they're part of being human. What matters is how we choose to respond to them. In this way, self-compassion is not only about accepting our feelings but also taking responsibility for how we channel them. By being kind to ourselves when we feel angry, we improve our emotional resilience and decision-making, leading to a more balanced and empowered life. Remember that anger, like any emotion, is part of the human experience. Rather than condemning yourself for feeling it, embrace it with compassion and understanding. This shift in perspective will not only help you navigate your anger more effectively but also contribute to your overall growth and emotional well-being. So, the next time anger arises, instead of fighting against it or feeling guilty, practice being kind to yourself. Acknowledge the emotion, accept it as a part of your experience, and move forward with a calm and thoughtful approach. Managing anger is a skill that requires practice and patience. Throughout this journey, we've explored 10 powerful steps to handle anger in healthier, more constructive ways. These steps include acknowledging your emotions without judgment, shifting your focus to solutions, understanding your triggers, practicing mindfulness, incorporating physical activity, giving yourself time to cool down, and being kind to yourself. Each of these strategies empowers you to take control of your emotions rather than letting them control you. Remember, emotional mastery isn't about perfection, it's about progress. We all experience anger, but the key lies in how we respond to it. By consistently practicing these steps, you can transform anger from a destructive force into an opportunity for growth and self-discipline. Self-discipline is not about suppressing emotions, it's about managing your reactions and responding thoughtfully, even in challenging situations. As you continue to develop emotional resilience, remember that each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. Progress takes time, and with each experience, you become better equipped to handle your emotions and navigate life's challenges with calm and clarity. Keep practicing, stay patient, and embrace the journey of self-improvement.